This is CBC Here and Now.
It's an income problem primarily.
Access to affordable food. One nonprofit says the answer is not food banks, it's all about income.
Charging ahead.
Everywhere we look, there's electric vehicles.
I'll tell you what Newfoundland Power is doing to get ready for the coming tsunami of electric vehicles. Coming up on Here and Now.
Well, the big top is up. There's actually people lined up waiting to get in here at the Iceberg Alley Performance Tent. We're live. We're going to talk about the 10 days of music coming up.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. There are some changes in the province's top jobs. Today, the Premier shuffled his cabinet as one of his ministers deals with health challenges.
Thank you. I won't be as clear.
Derek Bragg is receiving cancer treatment. He had surgery 2 weeks ago. He was fisheries minister, but now he'll be a minister without a portfolio, which means he'll sit in cabinet and collect a salary, but won't have a department to run.
It's easy on the other side of those cameras to assume that this job is easy. It's not. It takes an incredible toll on you as an individual and your family, and oftentimes on your health. And it's important that when one of us is challenged in any of those respects of their lives, that we be there to support them.
Well, Elvis Lovelace takes over the fishery portfolio from Bragg. John Abbott moves into transportation and infrastructure. Krista Lynn Howell becomes Minister of Education, swapping with John Haggie, who will be in charge of municipal and provincial affairs. And there is a newcomer, Paul Pike, the MHA for Buren Grand Bank, who will be in charge of children, seniors, and social development.
It's a real honor for me today to get this position. It took a lot of hard work, but eventually, the hard work pays off, and you get a position like this. And my goal is, in my particular portfolio, is to certainly set some priorities. I know what they are, and we'll just move forward.
In other news, a forest fire is burning near Lowball Lake, just a few kilometers from Fremont, Quebec. Firefighters in Fremont are focused on evacuating cabins in the area. That town is near the border with Labrador. It's about 30 kilometers from Labrador City. There are more than 450 wildfires burning across Canada. More than half are out of control. The Prime Minister was in Quebec today to get an update on that situation in the province. We'll have more on that a little later on Here and Now.
Yeah, and speaking of smoke, expect some local smoke from those fires in Lab City through the overnight tonight. Temperatures are going to drop for you, but this morning, temperatures were quite mild, 13 degrees in Lab City, 15 in Churchill Falls. Those temperatures very different, especially as you head towards coastal areas of Labrador and along the northeast coast, hovering around 1 degree, Badger -1. Deer Lake sat around 3 degrees, but quite the difference from the afternoon highs today. Temperatures jumping into the 20s, 26 degrees is where you topped out in Deer Lake today. 27, that was the hot spot, and that was in Cartwright this afternoon. So temperatures only about 11 degrees in St. John's today. That sea breeze kicked in, still much warmer than where it was yesterday this time. 18 degrees warmer in Cartwright, but different story for Lab City, down about 11 degrees, and really along the south coast of the island as well. The reason for that, a switch in the winds, the southerlies bringing some cooler temperatures along the south coast. We do have lots of shower activity just to the south. That will move through as we head through the night, but some hazy skies out there as well, and that's thanks to that forest fire smoke. We'll talk more about that when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, the province says it hasn't decided on whether it will sell its ownership of offshore oil projects. A recent briefing note obtained by CBC says that a consulting company was preparing these assets to be sold. But the minister responsible says no decision has been made. Andrew Parsons says they're figuring out whether it makes sense to sell off the ownership stake and who might buy it and at what price.
What we had to figure out is, look, yes, we have equity stakes, we have ownership, and those have value. The first part was figuring out what is that value. The second part is figuring out, are there buyers or interested parties? And even in the last 18 months, things have changed dramatically within that. But in terms of, is there a document or has there been a direction as to we need to proceed with that, I can unequivocally say no, that hasn't been a direction that's been made or given.
Well, a nonprofit in the province believes food banks are a Band-Aid fix and not a solution for finding affordable food. As Here and Now's Malone Mullen explains, a new report offers some possible solutions.
The solution to food insecurity usually looks something like this: rows of canned and dried food, donations from the fortunate to the less fortunate. But a new report is recommending a complete overhaul of how we fix hunger. The solution, doing away with food banks altogether.
So the reason people go to food charities is because they don't have enough money to access the food that they need. It's an income problem primarily.
The nonprofit Food First NL put out the report, arguing food charity shouldn't have to exist at all. It found that more than 1 in 6 households in Newfoundland and Labrador have recently confronted hunger. That's 90,000 people worrying about what to put on the table. Half have jobs, but still aren't making enough to keep the fridge full. They may have limited options, worry about costly grocery bills. Some will go without altogether.
We know that there are folks who could be not needing food charity tomorrow if things like, for example, the income support system, if those rates went up, or if our minimum wages went up, or if we brought in a guaranteed basic income. So the structural factor that makes food insecurity happen is one that's pretty under the control of government, and it's a public policy decision.
The new report contains 18 recommendations, some of them to the provincial government, asking for more money and attention to policies that will increase income. SME says that's the only evidence-based way to tackle the root of hunger.
It's not something we don't know how to solve. We do know how, and we know that we could, tomorrow eliminate the need for food charity for the most part with policy.
In the eyes of these advocates, the fact food banks exist at all means social security nets have failed. And finding a permanent fix means scenes like this one can disappear altogether. Malone Mullen, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, the wet weather and colder temperatures in some areas are putting a damper on the growing season. Farms and nurseries are behind schedule. Here and Now's Troy Turner visited some growers in central Newfoundland.
Things are busy at the Faith greenhouses in Lewisport. Plants and flowers are growing well under the cover of the large greenhouses, but the growth is a little behind schedule.
It's been difficult, I'm going to be honest. The UV index has been around 1, and of course, if you're known to growing, you can't do much without the sun. It's been cold, it's been rainy, it's been windy, and it can take a toll on plants for sure.
Now that the temperatures seem to be on the rise, business is expected to get back to normal. Lindsay Berg is hoping for another busy season, and she expects a hot summer.
Just that bitter coldness, so once that passes, we're going to see a lot of sun. We'll see precipitation, of course, but I think we're going to have a nice, beautiful, sunny summer.
Even though it's cold and damp right now, I think a lot of that part of the cold is because of the ice offshore, but I think it's going to be another dry summer. So I'm trying to go for our wetter fields so that the stuff doesn't dry up, but I could be making a mistake. We could get too much rain.
Mountain View Farm is about a week behind its regular progress for this time of year.
The plants are not growing like they should be. The stuff put in the ground, some of the stuff is not even up to the ground yet, than it should have been, but usually by this time of year. There's been some fields that are supposed to be planting potatoes right now, they're just too wet to get onto.
To help combat the poor weather, Mountain View is taking advantage of the province's crop transplant program. Low-cost vegetable transplants are available to farmers to help get a jump start on the growing season.
It'll put our crops ahead a little bit. We've taken a lot of advantage of that over the last 3 or 4 years. It's increased our production per acre, say by about 40% increase on some crops.
Fortunately, the cold weather hasn't held back the big greenhouses run by the province.
We have these climate-controlled greenhouses, and we have the ability to grow these transplants for the farmers. So even though they might be missing out on this this quick jump on the season, we're going to help them out here with high quality transplants that right now currently are about at 5 to 6 weeks old in age.
Adam Lee says the weather is pushing the growing season back for most farms across the province.
And in Newfoundland, any day, any opportunity you can get it a little bit earlier is all the difference in the world, but right now it's pushing it ahead just that little bit. Even a week or two can make a big difference on the ends.
They grow rutabaga, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, and other crops. Each of these greenhouses holds about 200,000 plants.
Almost 1/2 of the 5 million transplanted crops available to farmers across the province have been shipped out, and the second phase is expected to be completed next week. Troy Turner, CBC News, Grand Falls, Windsor.
Well, Newfoundland Power says the popularity of electric vehicles is about to take off in this province, and it wants approval for a study to help get ready for that surge. Here now's Mark Quinn reports.
I would like to describe it as a tsunami.
There are now about 3,000 electric and hybrid vehicles like this one in Newfoundland and Labrador. Still, turn on a camera at any intersection in St. John's, and odds are you won't see one. Right now, electric vehicles account for less than 1% of the more than 350,000 vehicles on our roads. But John Seary, a co-founder of the advocacy group Drive Electric NL, says a big change is coming soon.
It's going to be an overnight change that you'll suddenly see, wow, there's everywhere we look, there's electric vehicles.
Newfoundland Power says it may not happen overnight, but it believes there could be as many as 200,000 electric vehicles here by 2040. All those cars are going to require a lot of power, so the utility is asking the Public Utilities Board to do a study on how to manage this new demand. The $1.5 million pilot project will help the utility find ways to convince customers to charge vehicles at times when demand on the system is lower, like late at night when most people are sleeping. The company says if it can do that, it might not have to charge customers more to build extra capacity.
Yeah, it could certainly avoid or defer or reduce the requirements for capacity. So we're really excited about the study and see the merits for the electricity system and for our customers as well.
The cost of the pilot project would eventually be passed on to customers, but Newfoundland Power says the pilot will likely save ratepayers money in the long run.
The long-term benefits and the avoided cost of having to do capacity upgrades to the system is much greater than the cost to run the pilot and explore what these programs are.
If approved, Newfoundland Power says the pilot project will start later this year and wrap up with a final report in 2025. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Staying with the green wave, the College of the North Atlantic in St. John's wants first responders to be better prepared when arriving on the scene of a crash involving an electric vehicle. CNA launched a pilot training program today, teaming up with an EV specialist and a Tesla designed for teaching.
Taken everything from the front of the car and put it in the back of the car.
College North Atlantic has developed additional training for first responders of all sorts, paramedics, RCMP, RNC, police, of course, and firefighters, on how to safely respond to electric vehicle incidents, whether it be a collision, fire, if the vehicle is submerged in water, all sorts of different kind of issues we could run into as first responders.
So in these cars here, you smash out the back window, and basically when you break the window, it exposes the bottom of this plastic.
It's obviously an area which needs to be addressed because, as you can see, and no doubt have talked to folks today, anybody who responds to an accident that involves an electric vehicle is a different situation than responding to an internal combustion accident. So there are lots of safety issues, and obviously paramedics and even tow truck drivers need to be aware of because it could be potentially a life-threatening situation.
We've removed the penthouse, and the penthouse has actually been replaced by plexiglass.
Depending on the scenario, either us, the paramedics, or the RCMP or RNC could be the first on the scene. So it's no good to just say, all right, let's get all the firefighters trained. We need the paramedics to be trained. We need the police to be trained because they need to know what they can do and what they can't do. And again, it's the approach in the vehicle. Oh my God, this is electric, there's high voltage involved. Can I even open the door? Can I even touch the vehicle if it's in water, to help an occupant? So, we really want to eliminate those fears
It's going to need to be mandatory. I mean, the reality is that this transition to electric vehicles is coming just as quickly as other technology like digital cameras. And it would be a shame and it would be a tragedy if we would have somebody involved in an electric vehicle crash, which are infinitely safer than a gas vehicle crash, only to have that safety undone because the first responders were reluctant to respond in a timely manner, or worse still, began to work on the car without realizing the proper steps to go through to make sure that the vehicle is safe.
This is the beginning. We have some other work ongoing with the electric vehicle related activity and training, and you will see more of a modular approach to delivery and hopefully right across the province.
Well, speaking of electric, it's going to be pretty electric down at Kitty Vitty Lake tonight. The Big Blue Tent is back for the first night of the Iceberg Alley concert series. Here now's Jeremy Eaton is standing by down at the lake. So Jeremy, I understand tonight's lineup is a bit of a blast from the past.
Yeah, you certainly could say it. The opening band is called Vertical Horizon, which not many people might have heard of. However, the act that follows that is Soul Asylum, who were massive in the mid to late 1990s, and also Sugar Ray, which can draw a big crowd with his Dreamboat lead singer Mark McGrath. Some people may remember him. He was on Entertainment Tonight or hosted some sort of popular culture talk show for a bit. Dreamboat with great hair, so they'll be playing. But there's actually a lineup of people who are looking to get in here because this is the first night of 10 nights. Also, Carolyn, I'd like to point out that I'm really close to the stage right now. This is probably the closest that I'll ever get to being on a stage here at Iceberg Alley. But this is the first night of 10 nights of concerts down here, and this is a big one. And there is a number of people, as you can see, there's already people lined up here. We're going to bother some people really quick. Can I ask you a real quick question? Who are you down here to see tonight?
Sugar Ray, of course.
Sugar Ray. So what time did you get here to line up?
About 5:15.
What is your favorite Sugar Ray song?
I don't know. I don't want to pick one.
Yeah? And I got to ask, are you a fan of the music or are you a fan of the Dreamboat Mark McGrath?
Both.
I agree. Now, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. What about you? Who are you here to see tonight?
Mostly Soul Asylum, I gotta say, yeah.
Soul Asylum, huge band in the 1990s. How excited were you when you found out that a band that you probably listened to a lot when you were younger were going to be coming to St. John's?
I literally wore out my Let Your Dim Light Shine album. Wore it out. I had to buy a new one.
So what time did you get here to make sure that you were front row and center for Soul Asylum?
5:30. Yeah.
And how do you feel knowing now, hey, there's a smell in the air. It smells like marijuana, eh? How excited are you to see this band play live?
I'm pretty pumped, I must say. Iceberg Alley did good again this year, always bringing in interesting acts that I don't expect to see. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time. I'm excited for you that you're excited to see Soul Asylum. And you and I were chatting earlier. I want to know, who did you come down here to see tonight?
Soul Asylum, Vertical Horizon.
What can you tell us about Vertical Horizon?
Oh, they're awesome.
Awesome?
Yeah, they got a good beat.
And what time did you get here? You were one of the first, I think you were the first person to walk through the door.
2 people ahead of us.
What time did you get down here so that you could be here?
4 to 5.
And why did you want to make sure that you got up front here?
Because Newfoundland rocks and this Iceberg Alley rocks.
I'll tell you who rocks. All three of you, thank you so much for all your time. We're going to chat to the guy who put this together, John Steele, come up later on in the show. And for now, we're just going to take in whatever that smell is in the air and have a little bit of fun down here at Iceberg Alley. Reporting live for Here Now, I'm Jeremy Eaton.
A warm welcome in the House of Commons will take you to Ottawa for the Labrador MP's first day back on the job after beating breast cancer once again.
Well, the sun finally came out today for parts of the eastern portion of the island anyway. Is it going to last? We'll talk about that coming up.
We know, unfortunately, that extreme weather events are going to become more and more frequent over the coming years with climate change, and that means we're going to have to continue learning, continue looking at how to prepare for the coming years, how to work even better together.
Yeah, the Prime Minister paid a visit to the Canadian Forces in Quebec today with more than 7,200 people still out of their homes. That province is dealing with the worst wildfire season ever on record.
Crews from Portugal and Spain are on their way to help. And in the west, a wildfire in Edson, Alberta still remains out of control. There are 14,000 people in that province that have been displaced by fires.
Yeah, my goodness. A lot of fires on the go and just west of Labrador as well in Fremont, Quebec, we mentioned earlier. So definitely going to be keeping an eye on that. And are we seeing some smoke in this province?
Yeah, there's pretty much smoke all across the country because there are a number of fires burning. Let's take a look. You can see it pretty visibly on satellite. And if you look outside right now, those hazy skies that we're seeing, even here on the Avalon, is thanks to that smoke. So those different color there, the smoky color is where the smoke is. It's not really showing up under the cloud cover up here in Labrador, but you're looking at local smoke as you head through the night tonight, and that's again because of those fires just to the west. And pretty much going to see the smoky skies through tomorrow. Eventually that will clear out as we see a change in the winds over the next couple of days. So right now we've got a ridge of high pressure to the south that allowed us to see that sunshine for the first time in a while, at least for the northeast coast, but those clouds are definitely on the increase down to the south, and that's because we've got lots of shower activity, and that will generally continue just on the doorstep right now, and they will work their way further north as we head through the overnight. But the fog monster just offshore right now, you can see it in the on the rooms cam here, but leading to a pretty beautiful day today. Lots of sunshine out there. You can see the bit of haze certainly in the sky. Temperatures not overly impressive, about 9 degrees at the moment, topped out at about 11. But the further inland you went, you did see warmer temperatures today. That sea breeze kicked in. The reason for that is southeasterly, light southeasterly winds, and that is a perfect recipe for a sea breeze. So we're generally seeing these temperatures in eastern Newfoundland around that temperature, 9 degrees in Bonavista at the moment. As you head through central into the 20s, 26 in Deer Lake, same thing for Happy Valley, Goose Bay, and Cartwright is hovering around 25 at the moment. You topped out at 26 today, and or 27 I should say. And those temperatures to the north though much cooler. Nain is sitting at 4 degrees right now. So as we head through the night tonight, we're going to see those showers continue up across northern portions of Labrador. The showers will work their way across the island as well, especially along the south coast. They move through fairly quickly, but you're still looking at about 5 to 10 millimeters of rain through the overnight tonight. And because we have southeasterly winds, the Rec House wind warning is up, and that will be through tonight into tomorrow morning. And you'll likely see those gusts around 100 to 110 kilometers per hour in that time frame. Temperatures tonight relatively mild considering what it has been over the last couple of mornings. 4 degrees in St. John's, especially in those low-lying areas. Winds out of the south between 10 to 15 kilometers per hour. Now, about 10 degrees at Grand Falls. Winds are same thing for Corner Brook. Another mild night expected pretty much across the board in Labrador, except to the north. Also, not surprised, or shouldn't be surprised, should I say, to see or hear a few rumbles of thunder for Lab West. Otherwise, those showers moving through. The story tomorrow, a gray one for the most part. We may see a few peaks of sun in the mix, but overall, we may even see a few showers as well, especially towards northern peninsula and up across Labrador as well. As we head towards the late afternoon, early evening, temperatures are going to stay quite chilly for northern Labrador, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a few flurries in the mix there as well. And then especially as we get into Friday morning, more shower activity certainly possible across the board. So going to keep it cool again in St. John's tomorrow because of those southeasterly winds, so about 10 degrees, maybe 15 as you head further inland. Definitely warmer as you head towards central Newfoundland, 17 to 18 degrees, still cooler than today, but pretty nice. This is where we typically should be this time of year. For the west coast, southeasterlies between 30 to 50, and again along the Rec House area, you will see those winds a tad warmer. Much cooler towards the coast as well. 17 degrees in Cartwright, and then a generally gray day with showers across the rest of the Big Land. That's your forecast. We'll look ahead when I come back.
Thank you.
Yes, Labrador MP Yvonne Jones received a warm welcome, a standing ovation from her colleagues as she returned to the House of Commons after battling breast cancer for the past 6 months. This was her second time beating the disease. She received treatment for breast cancer over a decade ago and recovered. She says early detection is key.
I'm excited to be back in the House of Commons, back to work as a Member of Parliament for Labrador and a Parliamentary Secretary to 2 amazing Ministers of Natural Resources and Northern Affairs. Thank you, colleagues, constituents, staff, family, and friends, for all your support and encouragement and patience as I successfully battled breast cancer for the second time. To those who sent messages and prayers, you lifted me up, and your positive spirit was felt on every step of this journey. I want to express my deep gratitude to the Newfoundland and Labrador healthcare teams. They never relent in their quest for a cure, and they never relent in their service and commitment to their patients. The healthcare system in our province of Newfoundland and Labrador remains strong despite challenges because of the dedicated people we have who work in our healthcare system.
Everybody clap. Everybody sing. Bow to your partner. Okay. And then you turn around.
Yes, that was Willow. She's only 1.5 and, as you saw, knows all the moves for the Wiggles song. We asked you to send in a video of your question for the Wiggles, and we have a pair of tickets to give away. That's coming up. Well, the Wiggles are coming back to St. John's. The wildly popular children's group has 2 back-to-back shows at the Mary Brown Centre on September 23rd. And joining us now are 4 of the 8 Wiggles. We have Blue Wiggle, Anthony Field, Red Wiggle, Simon Price, Yellow Wiggle, Sahai Hawkins, and Purple Wiggle, John Pierce. So we asked some of our young fans to send us in some questions for you, but before we get to that, I'm wondering, most of you have already been to St. John's. Is there anything that you're looking forward to seeing or doing when you come back this time?
I love St. John's. I just personally, I'm going to go straight to O'Brien's music store and have a look at their collection of tenor banjos and mandolins. It's a unique musical experience in St. John's. Even the buskers on the street are playing accordions. It's fantastic. So for me, it's going to heaven.
Great. Well, let's get to some of our fan questions. So this first one comes from Lucy and Iris. Just have a listen.
Hi, my name is Lucy, and this is my little sister Iris. And we're wondering, have you ever seen an iceberg?
So Lucy and Iris want to know if you have ever seen an iceberg in person. So have you ever seen one?
No, I never. You know what? It's definitely on the list of things to see and things to do, but unfortunately at this stage I haven't seen an iceberg as yet.
Yeah, well, Australia is a very hot country, and all the icebergs have melted by the time they get there. But I know that icebergs float down the old right close to you guys. You see icebergs in St. John's, is that right?
Yes, absolutely. And actually you could see a couple of icebergs in the background with Lucy and Iris just then. So we do have some icebergs around our coastlines right now. So let's get to another question. This one I'm going to read out. This is from Gracie Kippenuk, who's 2.5. And she's been a Wiggles fan, she says, since she can remember at 2.5 years old. And Gracie wants to know, who can dance or wiggle the fastest?
It's not Simon or I, if you get what I'm saying. It's either Johnny or Sahai. Guys, we're going to leave the stage to you two. Who goes fastest? Who goes Sahai? Now, Johnny.
Wow,
Okay.
that's all pretty fast. I'd say that's a tie. You guys are tied for that for sure. Okay, let's get to another question. This next question is from 5-year-old Ruby Chisholm. Just have a listen.
Did you do the propeller to Newfoundland?
So yes, Ruby wants to know, did you do the propeller to Newfoundland?
You know, we did. We came all the way from Australia. It's usually 24, 25, 26 hours. And the whole way we were doing the propeller. And if you don't know what that is, I know Ruby does, let's do the propeller. You ready?
Okay, and we have one more question for you. Megan House sent us this question, and it's from 1-year-old Matea Lee. Have a listen to this.
Hi, Wiggles. Are you going to do this song at your show?
Everybody clap.
Yes, we definitely will. We love singing Rockabye You Bet. You can clap and you can sing, and it's a lot of fun. So definitely.
Great. Well, thank you so much for making time for us. And I know that there are a lot of fans of the Wiggles in St. John's and in the province who will be really looking forward to seeing you when you come in September. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. And honestly, we can't wait to get back to the Rock.
Can't wait.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, they were so fun to talk to, and you got in on the propeller action there.
Yeah, why
I saw. Why not? Yeah,
why not?
So we're going to do a little giveaway for the pair of tickets for the Wiggles concert. I put everyone's name in this hat here, and Ashley, you just pick a name there.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, Willow. Willow. We saw Willow just before the break, and she was the 1.5-year-old who knew all of the moves to the Wiggles song. So, Willow, we will be in touch with you or your guardian to let you know how to collect your tickets to the Wiggles on September 23rd.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
So, we're standing down here at Iceberg Alley. Atlantic Lotto has this cool selfie station set up, man. I'm going to get a video of myself. We're going to chat to the man behind Iceberg Alley, John Steele. That's coming up after the break. So we're down, welcome back to Here Now. I'm Jeremy Eaton. I'm down at the Iceberg Alley Performance Center. It's a little bit too loud for Vertical Horizon playing in the background, so we had to move more towards the front entrance. But joining me now is the man who helped put this together, John Steele. John, thanks for taking some time.
Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate it.
So, John, you and I were talking. You're not really sure how many Iceberg Alleys this is.
It's a bit of a blur, to tell you the truth. I think it's 7. we had a couple missed starts and a hurricane and all that stuff. So I think it's
So now this is, I think it's the 7th underway. It's 10 days of music about to get started. How are you feeling, John?
I feel really good about it. We get a lot of support from the community, and City of St. John's is a good supporter of us and stuff, and a lot of great sponsors, and people want some live music, and we're happy to provide 10 days of that.
It's not just 10 days of live music, John. It's 10 days, 3 bands a night. You're getting bands from all over, all around. How much time and effort do you and your staff put together, specifically, I guess, Sean Basha at Forefront, put into trying to make this event happen?
A lot of time and effort does go into it because there's so many different factors that come into play. Band availability, the price, do you think they'll sell tickets? So many things like that. Travel is a big issue to get here. We are on a rock in the middle of the North Atlantic. So, it has its challenges, but saying that, there's some fun to it also.
Now, there's a number of bands. We were talking to people early. Vertical Horizon is playing there over our shoulder on the monitor. Soul Asylum is here, and Sugar Ray. These are pretty popular bands, I guess they're still popular. They still draw a crowd. What does it mean to be able to get bands like this who probably wouldn't have come to this province before had it not been for a festival like this?
Money. Money takes, that's what it's about for the bands, most of the bands. And you gotta be willing to take that risk. And there's other people in this town that make big risks too. And but you do it for the love of it, and there's a lot of fun to it, and just trying to defy the odds and make it work. It's a good challenge, and we enjoy it.
Now, it's you're no stranger to music. Anybody who knows your hotel knows it's decorated. You're a big music fan. This summer is shaping up to be one of the best for music, I guess, for music lovers in the city. Are you surprised, or how do you feel knowing that after all these years, there's so many events and so many venues that people can go and take in a live show, especially 10 days here at Iceberg Alley?
I think it's great. I mean, music culturally is a big part of Newfoundland and Labrador, and our most popular night still is the Newfoundland night.
Shanneyganock?
Yeah, Shanneyganock and the Flummies and Celtic Connection and other acts, Masterless Men. I mean, they have big pull in these markets. So, people in Newfoundland and Labrador love music, and we're glad to be part of it, and so many festivals around. It's great stuff. We really enjoy it.
Now, after 7 years, are you still excited when this rolls around? I know it's a lot of work and there's a lot of effort and stuff and time that has to go into this, but do you as a fan of music still get excited, or when you're down here, is it all business for John Steele?
It's a bit of both, really, to tell you the truth. All depends what's going on. Opening night like this is always behind the scenes a bit of a scramble that we hope people out front don't see. And things pop up that you got to deal with, but then you get a magical performance from someone, and it's absolutely fantastic. Nothing can beat live music for moving people's emotions, in my opinion.
Solid point. I know that I've listened to Soul Asylum a lot in the early 1990s, and it certainly moved me. That's a band that I'm looking forward to seeing. But what about you? Is there any band that'll play over the next 10 days that John Steele is excited to check out?
Well, I mean, Arkell's Juno Group of the Year is great. The Beaches are a great band. They're here Friday after. And, so I'm really interested in seeing them. Soul Asylum tonight will be great. Every act brings something, whether you're into that genre of music or not. Like, I know a lot of people that are really pumped up for the hair metal night. Those people are loyal. They are into that stuff, right? Not my bag, but it works for them, so who am I to say?
I know a lot of people are excited about Quiet Riot.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're out of time. John, I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man. Thanks so much for everything.
Really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you very much.
Not a problem. That's John Steele. He's the man behind Iceberg Alley. I'm Jeremy Eaton, down live at the event, reporting for Here and Now.
Well, some big news in the media landscape today. Bell Media says it's closing or selling 9 of its radio stations across the country. CTV's foreign bureaus in London and Los Angeles are set to close, and operations in Washington will be scaled back. Parent company BCE Inc. says it will be cutting 1,300 positions across the company. It says around 30% of the positions being eliminated are current vacancies that won't be filled. In a memo, Bell says the job cuts are in response to what it describes as unfavorable public policy and regulatory conditions. The company says its media plan involves, quote, moving to a single newsroom approach across brands, allowing for greater collaboration and efficiency. 7 million Canadians do not have a family doctor. The problem is particularly acute for those who live outside a major city. One Canadian medical school was established to directly address that issue, and after 15 years of graduating doctors, it appears to be working. David Common has this report from Northern Ontario.
What's going on? What's brought you into emergency today?
The emergency room in Sioux Lookout, Ontario is rarely quiet, seeing patients from across Northern Ontario. Like many rural and remote areas, getting doctors to live here is a major challenge.
Do you think you'll ever work in a Toronto hospital?
Definitely not Toronto.
Dr. Brenna Duffy is bucking the trend. She only wants to work in smaller communities.
No offense to my urban colleagues, but I just don't feel like you would get the same kind of challenges and interest. I mean, like I said, we have such complicated cases. It makes medicine fun. Come with me over to the board.
Dr. Duffy is a graduate of the Northern Ontario School of Medicine. Now in its 15th year, it's doubling its student intake and finding success with its model, recruiting future doctors who come from smaller communities, training them away from big city hospitals so they'll stay rural and remote when they graduate.
Do you think what you've got is the solution?
I think it's part of the solution.
Doctor and school dean Sarita Verma calls it the No Ordinary School of Medicine, in part because students spend much less time in a classroom.
Traditional healers can come and make their medicines because
90% of the patients here are Indigenous. Many of the doctors are not. This training intended to bridge their worlds.
that's the birch bark fungus. It's really high in antioxidants. Blood sugar.
At the nearby Lac Seul First Nation, soon-to-be doctors Rosemary Rankin and Tafim Unnisa are halfway through a 4-week live-in immersion on the reserve to better understand the communities they'll eventually serve. Tafim is from Timmins, Ontario.
There's such a lack of healthcare due to the geographical limitations of Northern Ontario, and it made me want to, pursue it.
We hear so much about crisis and failure inside Canada's medical system, but this approach is finding success and getting noticed by other medical schools nationwide. Students and graduates are keen to celebrate it. David Common, CBC News, Sioux Lookout, Ontario.
Shifting to sports news now, the Vegas Golden Knights have made hockey history, taming the Florida Panthers in a spectacular Stanley Cup win last night.
Stone's away. He's got Stevenson with him. Mark Stone in. Scores! Stevenson holding. Stone scores! It has happened in Vegas. The Cup's going to stay in Vegas. And for the first time, the Golden Knights are Stanley Cup champions.
And there you have it. After only 6 years in the NHL, the Knights took home the coveted trophy, making it the fastest track to the big win of any of the league's expansion teams. The Knights swept the Panthers off the ice in a stellar 9-3 win in Game 5 last night. Okay, so before we get to the weather, we want to tell you about a developing situation out of Labrador now. We're seeing that there's an out-of-control wildfire burning in the Julian River area.
Yeah, one water bomber as well as a helicopter and a fire crew have been assigned to help battle the wildfire. And we're going to continue to monitor the situation there and bring you the latest.
Yeah, okay, so now we're going to look at today's weather, and the northeast coast has been pretty cool and damp. We've been dealing with that situation. Fortunately, no wildfires in our neck of the woods.
No, but we've been getting you to send in your best January fashions, I should say, and we've had some pretty great entries.
Yeah, have a look at this. Here's how Geraldine King watched her granddaughter's ball game. Not just a big coat there, but also wrapped up in what looks like a sleeping bag. And sticking with ball games, this is how Chrissy Byrne bundled up. Some rubber pants, rubber boots, she says, splash pants, wool hat, and mittens. And I think that expression, not too impressed, I think that says it all.
Yeah, and speaking of mittens, Doreen Daw sent us this picture of hers. She says, I like to knit in the fall and winter, especially mittens, but usually by May and June, I move on to more summer activities. This year, I'm still knitting mittens and still wearing them.
Yes. So yeah, we still want to see how you're coping with January on the northeast coast. So yeah, send us in your best pics to our email hereandnow.nl@cbc.ca.
Yeah, so speaking of that wildfire situation in Labrador, it does look like some much needed rain is in effect. You know, we've been talking about these mild temperatures, not so much as we head to Friday. So about 9 degrees in Lab City. We're looking at those showers moving in and pretty much across the board. Happy Valley Goose Bay will sit around 13. Still talking about the potential for some flurries in Nain at about 2 degrees into the afternoon on Friday. Temperatures across the island are going to stay pretty much where they will from yesterday. Around 10 degrees in St. John, 16 in Grand Falls, Windsor. Best chance of seeing the sun will be through Port aux Basques, where you will hover around the 12-degree mark through the day on Friday. So here's that broad area of low pressure, which is why most of us are seeing that shower activity. So this is generally going to continue, at least unsettled weather is going to continue as we head through the day on Saturday as well. Likely just in the way of cloudy skies. But you may see some showers along the northern peninsula, coastal areas of Labrador, and maybe even along the Burin Peninsula as well. Temperatures are going to start to rebound a little bit, 13 to about 18 degrees for most of us across the island. Northern Peninsula, a tad cooler. You're going to hover around 9 degrees. Same thing for coastal areas of Labrador, somewhere between 4 and 5 degrees, and then back into the low teens for Happy Valley Goose Bay and Lab City again. More in the way of cloudy periods through the day. Now, long range forecast, not showing anything in the way of significant warm-ups. However, the weekend finally looks a bit dry at this point anyway. Way more cloud cover expected on Sunday, but your temperatures should be sitting somewhere between 12 and 13 degrees. That rain will move back in as we head into Monday. Now, for central Newfoundland, you're looking at that shower activity a little earlier on Sunday. Western Newfoundland looking nice this weekend, 17, 18 degrees with sunshine and rain for Monday. And then for Labrador, you're looking at your temperatures generally in the teens, high teens by the time we get into Monday, and then gradually warming up for Western Labrador as well, with some dry weather in the forecast as we head from Saturday, Sunday, and into Monday. Now, I've been talking about those smoky skies out there. This one, this is a sunset in Bellevue. Smoke-filled sky, giving us that hue of the sun there. Marie shared that shot with us. If you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, send them to Facebook, Twitter, but the best place is to email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Even this morning, I was out for a little hike in the woods, and I felt like it seemed a little bit hazy.
And that would be absolutely smoke-filled. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll see that again tonight as the sun sets.
Okay, and we'll be keeping an eye on that wildfire in Labrador for sure.
Yes.
Well, that's it for us on this Wednesday evening. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good night.